Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, publisher of Aspire Magazine, creatrix of Inspired Living University, and I'm excited to say the producer of the Inspired Life event being held May 1st through 3rd, 2020 in southeastern Massachusetts. This 3-day transformational high-vibe event for women features keynote speaker Shannon Kaiser, over 70 workshops, a divine marketplace, and so much more. Get all the details for tickets, exhibiting, and speaking at inspiredlifeevent.com. So today we're going to be talking about clutter, an insidious issue that can affect every area of our lives. Every time you think you have it under control, it pops up again, doesn't it? And that's why I'm excited to have Marla Stone, author of the Clutter Remedy, here with me today. Marla is the owner of Ideal Lifestyle, which provides decluttering, design, corporate training, and lifestyle coaching services. She's the author of the popular book, The Clutter Remedy, a guide to getting organized for those who love their stuff. And I'm raising my hand there. I can relate. Marla has a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in social work from California State University, Long Beach. After being a social worker and in private practice as a psychoanalyst for a total of 17 years, Marla combined her love of helping people and her love of design and organization to create Ideal Lifestyle, Inc. She's helped thousands of people worldwide to get and stay organized for good. Welcome, Marla.
Oh, thank you, Linda. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so glad that you can join me today because as we were talking about off air, this is such an important topic. It's been a part of my life. Getting rid of, every time I think I have clutter under control, it pops back up again. So bring us back to your journey when you decided to merge your two loves. Was there a catalyst moment when you realized this is the work I want to do in the world?
Well, I was a social worker in the trenches for about 7 years. I did home health. I worked with the seriously mentally ill people. I like to call it mental wellness. And then I was just really learning the skills of being a social worker. And I did home health and hospice and you name it. I worked in hospitals. I did everything. And then I went into private practice, and I loved private practice. I saw everyone from the Orange County Housewives to the military. I had a contract with Camp Pendleton for 5 years during Fallujah. And I came up with some really interesting techniques for PTSD and healing trauma. And then the economy fell, around 2008. And then I had people coming in that were, losing their jobs, saying they were going to live in their car. And I helped people reinvent themselves at that point. And, every single person that came in that said they were never going to work again, they all found new jobs, they re-educated themselves. And then at some point around 2009, I thought to myself, who am I going to be when I grow up? How am I going to reinvent myself? I would like to do something new. And I'd been in private practice for 10 years at that point. And so I, told my husband, I told my dad who helped with my education, I'm gonna reinvent myself. So I took a year off. I took legal classes. I thought maybe I'd go to law school. I took interior design courses, feng shui. And then, the economy was still bad at that time this is around 2010 now, when I go on this journey. And so interior designers were not making it, and law was just very depressing, and I wanted to get something more positive into my life. And then I found professional organizing. And it was amazing because it encompassed my mental health background, and then I could do design and feng shui and change people's lives in a different way.
I love how it was like a full circle, like integration of the things that you took from the counseling world that you love and all the feng shui and the design elements to create something powerful. And look at the work that you're doing now since then.
Yes, it's just been an amazing journey. I loved being a social worker in the trenches. And, and private practice was great, but it was a lot of sitting and, one person, one family at a time. And, you can only see about 17 people maximum in private practice. So, it was limited to just a lot of sitting, and I was helping. And creating very innovative techniques to help people heal permanently. And but I thought I deserved to be able to stand up and run around and do things like I did when I was a social worker. And so my first client was so interesting. I had no idea what professional organizers did. I didn't even know what a professional organizer was. But I built a website by myself. And then I started getting phone calls. And my first client, I went to the door and I thought, oh my gosh, I don't even know what I'm going to do. So I went in and the woman had a big mess. There was toys everywhere. And she brought me up to her room and it was a disaster. I mean, it was clothes everywhere. You couldn't even go into the room really. She was sleeping on the couch downstairs. And she, once we got everything picked up, and we filled 40 large black trash bags full of clothes, and, we dragged them down to the garage and just got them out of the room. And when she was able to step into her closet, she just started to cry. And at that moment, I realized, oh my gosh, I'm really doing social work again, and I love it. And I exercised for 5 hours, and it was just this aha moment. And I said to her, what is your insurance company? We're calling right now. We're getting you into therapy. And she was going through a hard time with her husband. Eventually she did get divorced, and it was for the best for her and the kids. And I thought, oh, this is wild. I get to do what I love, and I got to decorate and fix up her house and move furniture around. I was always one of those kids who loved moving my furniture around and around in my room when I was a kid. Although I wasn't that organized, and my mom was always telling me to clean my room. But, it's just so rewarding when you can find something that you love. And here I am 9 years later in this business, and I still love to go into a garage, a pantry, a closet, it doesn't matter, and get everything out, clear the space, categorize everything, and then make everything beautiful again.
I love it. So clearing clutter is also about finding a new way of being, right? A new way of organizing, because as I shared in the intro, we might spend an afternoon going, oh, look at this. I did it. It's beautiful. And a week later, it's all freaking back there again. So it sounds like the key to your teaching is let's find and create a system that allows it to be a forever thing, because you're teaching them skills. Talk about that for a moment.
Yes. Well, what I realized once I started getting used to the industry, the professional organizing industry, and speaking at conferences, going to conferences, I realized that there were organizers that were more interested in being in the person's life forever and having a job and being able to keep going back, not ever entertaining the idea of perpetual organization. And so I thought, well, there were therapists that were like that as well, that, they were happy if they had the same 10 clients for 10 years. And I thought, well, that's not the way it goes. So I started to look at the person first. And I realized that when I asked people, well, what do you value in life? Because I wanted to know what their ideal lifestyle was, what they loved to do, because then it would help me help them make good decisions about what stuff to keep in their life. Because if you don't know what you love to do, then how do you know what to keep? So in exploring with people, and asking them, what do you value? I would get a look like, Like, what do you mean, what do I value? It was like I was asking them what is quantum physics? And I realized people have lost their dreams and what they really want in life and their goals, and instead they were just putting one foot in front of the other and needling themselves to do all the mundane things we do, like I've got to go to the market, or I need to do this, and I'm going to go here today and pick up the kids, and it was just a person who had lost their dreams. So in exploring with them what their ideal lifestyle would be, then it made it much easier to go through their stuff. And also I heard people saying things like, I need to do this, and I need to do that, and I need that bowl, and I need that base, and I need. And this needling made me go home. I went home and I looked in the dictionary, old dictionary that I own, and it said need meant necessity. So, that's like air, food, water, shelter, sleep, elimination, and sunlight, the 7 things that keep us alive. So I started to help people say, will you do this? Do you want to do this? You don't need to do this, and you don't need this bowl. Do you want this bowl? And why? Tell me about this bowl. Tell me about these goals in life. And then it made things much easier.
I love it. I love that you dove deeper behind the story of what was creating this in people's lives. So when we come back from our break, I want to talk about that even more. And I'll be back in a moment with my guest, Marla Stone, and you can learn more at ideallifestyle.com, and that is the letter I-deallifestyle.com. We'll be back in a moment.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Inspiration for a woman's soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
Hey, America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTR-FM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations, and with me today is Marla Stone, the author of The Clutter Remedy, a guide to getting organized for those who love this stuff. So you were talking about how you dove deeper into the whys and helped them release the needs. So why do you believe, or what have you found, that why some people get organized only to get disorganized over and over again? And I think everyone listening here can relate to that. What do you discover was the reason? Is it because of that word need?
A lot of it has to do with this word need. It is amazing, but I think it's the most used phrase in human language. And there's some more about this language thing that I started to discover, and I call it impeding language. But the need factor in our life is so powerful. And the funny thing is we're not actually fulfilling our actual needs. Air, breathing well, food, good food, nutritious food, sleep, getting enough sleep, and eliminating, toxins and everything out of our body that's unhealthy. And just, the air, food, water, shelter, sleep, elimination, and sunlight. Everybody's being told that they could use more vitamin D now. And it's because we're not getting enough sun. We're all cowering from the sun even. So when people don't fulfill their actual needs, they become weary, and there can be depression that sets in. And just, living this mundane, put one foot in front of the other lifestyle. And so people keep shopping, and they order stuff, and they think that's going to fulfill them in some way or perk them up. But, objects don't do that for people. People do that for people, and people do that for themselves. So the next thing I started to notice with language is not only people saying I need every sentence, they were also saying I'll try, or I tried, or if, but, could, should, perhaps, maybe, sometimes, someday, I'll do this, I'll use this, and then kinda, sorta, or sorta, kinda. And I thought, that's weird. People are saying kinda, sorta all the time. Two indecisive words put together. On top of the needling of themselves, they were very indecisive. So I thought, I want people to make good decisions about what they're going to keep in their life. And I also started to focus on what people were going to keep instead of the whole get rid of thing. I don't even like the word rid. It's kind of a bad word. And so it is a bad word, I think. So I started to listen to language and even how I was talking. And then I also discovered people saying this phrase, I feel like, or I feel that, followed by a thought instead of a feeling word. So I realized people aren't using adjectives at all, or, descriptions of how they're feeling. And there was like a common 5 feelings people use for everything they were feeling. Frustrated, upset, overwhelmed, anxious, or sad. I feel unhappy. And that was about it. For all the different feelings that a person can have, they were only using 5 adjectives. So I started to help people incorporate what they're actually feeling and naming it. And then, we could sail through their items in a much easier way, and they can make good decisions.
I love it. So I got to ask you, papers, right? That's my one little thing, because I'm a paper girl. I'm not a digital girl, even though I have multiple online businesses. I still love my paper. I'm looking at some now, and I've gotten a lot better over the years. But what are your top 4 tips for staying on top of papers coming into the house? Well, I think it's a big one for everyone.
Yes, it is. It seems to be the biggest thing, and it's so funny because it's the lightest thing we, carry out of a house. Even if we fill up a whole bin full of paper, it's still pretty light compared to, like electronics or, tchotchkes, or those things can get bulky and heavy. But what I do with every single thing, including paper, is, first of all, we clear the space of everything, in categories. So, for instance, if we first wanted to go into a home and get every scrap of paper, whether it's receipts, photos, whether it's statements, newsletters, whatever it is. Not magazines or books, that's a separate category, but anything paper. I even had a client that wrote a note on a paper hanger, that very thin paper that comes on a hanger from the dry cleaners.
Yes.
She wrote a note in pencil, and we laughed hysterically because she didn't even poke through the paper, and there was this clear note on a paper hanger. But we tend to do that. We tend to write little notes. I'm even guilty of it. I'll find at the end of a week little notes on little pieces of paper, but it's a phone number, and I didn't even write the name. So, we're all guilty of this paper trail. But what I do and what I help my clients do with notes is put it in your phone. Do use your phone. There's a notepad in your smartphone. And if you don't and you still want to write on paper, if you don't have that capacity, take a photo of the paper. Most people do have a camera on their phone. And if you don't, buy a camera, take pictures, and then upload those pictures to your computer, and so that you don't have this paper trail. Everything else with paper, what we do with everything is we categorize first. You don't look through a pile of paper. That becomes overwhelming to see a receipt and then a bank statement and then a credit card statement and then a card or a letter. It gets overwhelming to the senses when things are not in categories. So the first thing is get some clear bins and put them on your table. Empty clear bins are on a countertop. And then get all your papers in a bin, pile up all the papers from all over the house, drawers, wherever you've stashed paper, and then take a pile in your hand and start to categorize. So you'll start one bin full of bank statements. Another bin will be for receipts. Another bin will be for photos. Another bin will be for notes. That's a category. Another bin for cards, letters, whatever you've got going on. As far as paper, you first categorize, then you look through each category with my criteria, the clear and concise criteria, which is, will I use it? Does it serve a purpose? Is it sentimental? And do I love it? So some papers, photos, obviously, we love those, and pretty cards from people, maybe sentimental. But certain things are also, they are digital. They're online, bank statements and things like that, but you can choose to keep it as long as you're going to use it. Because if you just put it in a file and, you never use it again or look at it and it just keeps piling up, ask yourself, what's this doing in my real estate? It doesn't meet criteria for me to keep it around. I'm not referring to it. I'm not looking at it. I know it's online. Sentimental cards, how many is a reasonable amount to keep? Are you going to keep every single card from every holiday or every, week that you get cards or letters or whatever? Are you going to refer to them? Are they that sentimental? And, where am I going to store them? Sentimental you don't want to have in your inner space if you're not going to look at it every day. You want to keep it further away from you. So that's how I do the clutter remedy strategy with paper.
It's so, those are great tips. One of the things I do is, like, example, the mail. As soon as the mail comes, I deal with it then. Like flyers go in recyclable. I do not, if I put them down, it builds up. So it's like open, file, toss. That's it. But it took me 58 years to figure out that the only way I can do it is deal with it then. Don't wait till later, because you know what happens.
Yes, exactly. I tell people, get the mail, go to the recycling bin outside, stand there, process the mail right there. And if you don't want to do that, if it's too cold or whatever, go inside, go to where your recycling trash is in your kitchen, and stand there. And and people are like, oh well, I want to shred things, and I say, you know what, you can just rip those credit card statement or things to get more credit cards, rip them in half, put them in the recycling bin right then and there, and process the mail, and then really ask yourself, why am I going to keep this particular piece of mail? Do I want to look through my bank statement, make sure it's all correct, and then shred it or rip it up? Or, am I going to just keep it because I like to do my taxes at the end of the year, and I really like to have my paper statement, and, will I just keep this year, and then, the previous year will go somewhere else. It'll either go with my taxes, or I realize at that point everything was correct, and then I can shred everything. So it's really using the criteria of, will I use this? Is it serving some purpose? Some people love to have a calendar, like a newsletter that they get, and they like to read it for the whole month. But after that month, you know a new one's coming. You know, what's the reason you're going to keep that previous one? You ask yourself.
That's a big thing for me. The moment a new issue of a magazine comes, I put it in my donation pile because I donate my mags to the elderly center around the corner.
Excellent.
So I do that. So I know something that a lot of women are going to want to know. How do you get your family members to put things back where they belong?
Okay, so this goes back to the language thing. And so, you know, instead of saying you need to pick up after yourself, you need to do this, you've got to do this, you know, say, I want you to do this, you will do this, you will put things back, you will will yourself to put things back. Putting will back into the language is the key to staying and remaining perpetually organized. It is the simple key. When people say, you know, oh, I'll do it later or I don't want to do it, that's okay. But, you know, having some guidelines or rules in the home is very important for the family. You know, if there weren't rules or guidelines for living in the world, you know, everybody would be going through red lights, and that wouldn't be okay. So it's okay to have guidelines in the home and say, okay, you take something out of your room, out of your closet, out of the garage, and it goes back to its home. Because we set up homes where the entire home is categorized and then fine-tuned, and that means that once we get a broad category, for instance, shoes, we then fine-tune boots with boots, sandals with sandals, athletic shoes with athletic shoes, dress shoes with dress shoes, and so on. So that there's a home. And then, you know, in the winter, you want your boots close and in your inner space. And in the summer, you want to put them in a bin and put them further away so that you're not reaching over winter to get to spring or summer. And so
true.
The home, and the home has, you know, everything has a home. So you make it a rule, a guideline, that the items go back to their home. Now, with guidelines and rules, when somebody breaks them, there's consequences, of course. And the consequence always that I love is takeaway. So you see your husband's shoes, you know, out. They start to pile up in the entryway or wherever the kids are dumping their stuff, their toys, their backpacks or whatever. You know, you can't take away a backpack because they're going to want it for school, but now, let's say they're leaving their makeup out or their jeans or their stuff all over, electronics. If it's left out and you've already shared your feelings, like I'm upset when I see things all over the place, and then validate the person, and I know you're so neat. You always want to put in what they're not. So, you know, you say, I'm upset, and, you know, you're so neat and you're always so tidy. Then if that doesn't work, then you take the object and it goes away. And depending on the age of the child, or, you know, you can take a child's things away for, you know, a couple hours, or if they're a little older, a day. And then if they're a teenager, it can go away for a week. And they'll start to get the message that if things are left around, it's going to disappear for a while.
No, I love it because consequences are a big part of it. We're going to take a break. When I want to come back, I want to talk to you about minimalism, right? And does getting rid of stuff and becoming minimalist, does it solve all your problems with clutter and staying organized? So we'll be back in a moment with Marla Stone, author of The Clutter Remedy. You can learn more at i-deallifestyle.com. We'll be right back.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ladies, it's time to remove the veils of pain, shame, and self-doubt that are smothering your inner light and leave you feeling disconnected from the truth of who you are. You are a radiant, divine woman of strength, love, and wisdom who deserves to live a life of joy, love, and inner peace. Life and spiritual coach Mal Duane, who is often referred to as the champion for restoring women's self-worth, supports women in stepping out from behind the energetic veils that separate them from the truth of who they are. It is possible to move through your fears, break through limiting beliefs, and release the shackles of shame and self-judgment. And you don't have to do it alone. Take the first step in reclaiming your life by visiting maldwaincoach.com for empowering resources and supportive services.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hi, you're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy. And today we're talking about clutter and organizing and really, getting rid of the energetic chaos that builds when we have clutter around us. So I'm curious of your thoughts, Marla. Does getting rid of our stuff and becoming a minimalist solve all of our problems with clutter and staying organized? And is your book about becoming a minimalist?
Okay, Linda Joy. No, getting rid of things, becoming a minimalist is not the solution for perpetual organization. So what I found is people, when they didn't make great decisions about what left their premises, they went back out and they bought it again. And, we're natural-born collectors. We are natural-born pilers. And so we do like our stuff. We love stuff. People, if we didn't, we'd live out in, a tent in the desert. And that would not be comfortable for very long. You'd miss your bed. You'd miss your sheets. You'd miss your objects that are beautiful. And actually, when we have beautiful things around us, there's a part of the brain that opens up like a flower, and it keeps us happy. So, getting rid of things is not the solution. And obviously it's not, because otherwise we wouldn't have continuous clutter. So I believe when we make good decisions about what we keep, no matter how much it is, even if you're a maximalist, that as long as the things are stored properly and in an aesthetically pleasing way, and you only keep things in your inner space, and that's your kitchen cabinets, your hallway closet, your closets in your bedrooms, and your hallway closets. Garage is further away, so that's not inner space. But in your inner space, bathroom cabinets, you only want what is used daily, weekly, and monthly, so that you are not crawling over too much stuff to get what you use regularly. So when the house is set up properly, it doesn't matter how much stuff you have. In cases of over-accumulating, when there's way too much stuff, and, it's everywhere, on the beds, on the couches, and it's, on the dining room table, and it's just everything's too piled up, what we simply do, and those are people that have great attachment to their things, and if they were moved, it would be very disturbing. So in those cases, we simply categorize everything into clear bins so that they can see their lots in life, and it actually simmers down the over-collecting behavior. And we just simply put it around the parameters of the home, so it's not in the pathways, not on the furniture. And it's actually been a kind of a cure. It is a cure for over-collecting. So that's the opposite of minimalism. But getting back to minimalism, it's not the solution for getting organized. There's no correlation.
So a lot of people believe that being a minimalist is going to solve that issue. And I've read a lot about it because we went to more intentional living, where every item that came into our new home, we just moved in November. For me, it was, does this bring me joy? Is this something I have to see to feel fulfilled? And here's what I discovered, Marla, when I started this 22 months ago, as we were packing up our big home that we sold. I realized in packing, and I'm sure you've heard this, I'm like, what the hell do I have all this stuff in boxes for that I haven't looked at in 15 years? It must have no emotional or sentimental value if they're in my basement and I haven't opened them in 15 years. And that's when I realized how much stuff we keep unconsciously. And that's when I made the decision 22 months ago that I want to create an intentional home by looking at each item. Is that how you help people decide what to keep and what to toss? Because that was eye-opening for me, like, oh, my God, all this energetic space I'm using holding stuff I've never looked at.
Yes, if things are in boxes, you ask yourself, how sentimental is this stuff? What's even in these boxes? So no matter what you're going to store, always make sure it's in a clear bin so you can see it and know why it's in your real estate. And so, yes, going through each object, but categorizing these objects first, because if you pick up a book and then you pick up a shoe and then you pick up a knickknack and then you pick up an old letter or a photo, you're going to get really slowed down and eventually just close the box back up and say, I'm just going to keep it because obviously it means something to me. So we get everything unearthed, out of bags, out of boxes, categorize every single item in the home into broad categories, and then we go through with the clients and ask, will you use this? Even if it's once a year, your turkey platter, you're going to keep that. But if you have 15 turkey platters, we're going to talk about it. And if someone is saying, Marla, I have a big party once a year and I use all these platters, and then it's a keep. But again, it's not going to be in your inner space, and then it's going to be in clear bin, categorized with other entertainment pieces. And it will simply be in the garage or the attic or wherever you have space for occasional items. And then, does it serve a purpose? So that's the next thing I'll ask somebody. Does it serve a purpose? Like the key to your fireplace or the extra key to the pool or, a sewing kit or that little eyeglass kit that you use, occasionally, or you may never use it, but you don't want to get rid of those things. You're not going to get rid of your fireplace key. And then is it sentimental? So sentimental obviously is one of the biggest categories that people get stuck on. And they, sometimes they don't know why they're keeping something, or large collections of things. For instance, I've seen people with stuffed animals. I just spoke to a lady yesterday, and she said, I have bags and bags and bags of the stuffed animals for my kids, and they're so sentimental to me. And so that's why I'm keeping them. But they're in bags. So I said to her, unearth them out of the bag, get them into clear bins, and then you can decide whether you're going to take a photo of them. You can even take a photo of each one of them individually. And she loved that idea. But even if she were to keep them because they meant something so deep to her in her heart, and that without them, a little piece of her would be lost, then it's okay as long as they're stored properly in clear bins. And also, if you keep things in paper boxes or bags in the garage or anywhere, if a little creature gets in there, they could be destroyed. The stuff can be destroyed. And then, again, do you love this? So things that we love are things that we keep around us, like our clothing, our artwork, knickknacks, those things. And as long as you are loving them, then it's okay to keep those things.
I love it. And that's one thing I did not have many years ago, all those boxes and bins I found. They were boxes and, the solid color bins that it's like the black hole. You don't know what's in them until you open every one. This time It's all clear bins, fit on shelves, and I didn't organize them. Now that I'm hearing you talk, I didn't organize them as categorized as I could have, but I can just, at least now I feel better that I can see them, and I get what you mean. That makes a big difference.
Yes, and actually it gives you another chance to look through your things. If you just put things randomly in clear bins, take the bin one by one and get smaller bins or even larger bins if it's a lot of stuff, and start to categorize and fine-tune. So with memorabilia, if that's something you want to do and it's part of your ideal lifestyle, it's not part of mine currently. We all think about that we're going to keep this stuff in someday in rocking chair stage. We'll be looking through this stuff. But wouldn't it be nice if it was categorized? So photos with photos, and by child and by holiday, or however you want to categorize or fine-tune your photos. That would be a fun task. And then also with cards, or, if you have stuff still from college or even, school years, just start to categorize and fine-tune those categories, and then contain each category in a separate type of containment so things don't smush together again. So, I always talk about this smush or meld effect when things are not fine-tuned and then contained. So, even when you're doing, for instance, a pantry, you want to clear everything out of the pantry first, as if there's going to be a fire and you're going to want to save all your food. You would just be pouring it into bins, like taking your arm and swiping the whole shelf clear of the food into bins. And then you're going to have smaller bins set up, and then you're going to start to categorize. So soup with soup, whether it's dried, whether it's canned, bottled. Soup is with soup, pasta with pasta, condiments with condiments, desserts with desserts, cookies with cookies, crackers with crackers. And then those things get contained into small, containment, either in zip bags, or it could be little plastic bins, and then put back into the pantry on the shelf. So I don't like to put anything directly on a shelf. So it's really the fine-tuning is the secret sauce to being perpetually organized.
Well, that's a great tip. And we're going to take our last break. And in the last segment, I want to talk about what it means to live an ideal lifestyle. And I'll be back in a moment with Marla Stone, author of The Clutter Remedy. Learn more at i-deallifestyle.com. We'll be back in a moment.
This is OTRFM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
It's time to free your voice and transform your life. When you learn to align your inner truth with your outer voice, you step into your intuitive feminine power and enhance your ability to create and live the life of your dreams. Kathleen Gubitosi, performing artist and professional voice strategist and creatrix of the magic of voice alchemy, guides emerging and established performers, business leaders, and heart-centered entrepreneurs to set their sacred message free and deeply connect with their ideal audience at home, at work, and on stage by channeling the most potent gift on earth, their voices. Whether through Kathleen's personal, professional, or performance path offerings, you'll learn the physical, metaphysical, and spiritual methods to activate your voice power, and you'll learn the individual characteristics of your divine voice goddess. Learn more at KathleenGubitosi.com.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Healing Light, on OMTimes Radio every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Healing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
Me, a cat moving in with a new human. It took a little getting used to. She has these weird games she likes to play, like this giant feather. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. She sticks it in my face. I swat it away. It's almost like she thinks I enjoy it. But seeing how much fun she gets out of it, well, I guess it makes it all worth it. Humans.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Welcome back. You're listening to Inspired Conversations. I'm your host, Linda Joy, and today we're talking about clutter and organization and what it means to live an ideal lifestyle. So in this last segment, Marla, what does it mean to you to live an ideal lifestyle?
Well, for me personally, it's changed over my life. When I was younger, an ideal lifestyle was just having fun and going out, going to school, getting an education, spending time with family, friends, talking on the phone. Now it's really about travel, writing, enjoying my husband, my friends, going to movies. We've changed throughout our life. So you want to know what your current ideal lifestyle is. That's the most important thing. Sometimes people are in the past and they think that they still love knitting because they have all this knitting stuff in their house, and then they realize, no, now I'm more into playing cards, with my friends. So living your ideal lifestyle is changing all the time. But you want to ask yourself, what do I truly value now in my life? What is my ideal lifestyle now? What would it be? If I'm not living it, I want people to write it down. What would 30 things you want in an ideal lifestyle, 30 things you want in an ideal partner, 30 things you want in an ideal career. And, make these lists, 30 things you want in friends, 30 things you want, from family. So you start to create your ideal lifestyle, what you want, and you put it down on paper. That's the first step. And then truly working to fulfill the things that you want out of people and out of your life. And that's very, very important because, again, when I would ask people what they want in life, they really didn't know. And I said, well, what did you used to dream about? And honestly, there was like a blankness when I would ask this question where people had truly forgotten what they wanted out of life. And that's a really sad thing when you think about it, that we're not living our ideal life. We're living a life. We're living the life, that saying my grandmother used to say, well, when you make your bed, you just lie in it. And I do not believe that. That is not true. That's a false statement. And so it's first really figuring out what you want. Then each person's lifestyle would be different.
Exactly. It's based on, I believe it comes down to, for me, I call it living an inspired life, right? Living from the inside out, discovering what is it that brings you joy, whether it's a certain relationship, things, in every area of my life, and I follow my joy. It's how I created my businesses. It's the relationships I choose. For me, that's my ideal lifestyle. If I'm always in aligned with joy, then the things I choose from that place are always going to elevate me. So that's my ideal lifestyle. Of course, travel, family, etc. But the base core element for me has become, it wasn't always that way, joy. So like you said, everyone has to really dive deep into what they want now, because I think a lot of times we take on a persona that we believe we have to keep, right? Or a lifestyle that we think we have to keep that we can never change. And I know from personal experience that life is all about change and redefining yourself.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Exactly.
Yeah. And being courageous enough, like you said, to look like the person who, just because she still has all the knitting supplies and is shooting all over herself, saying, oh, I should still keep knitting because look at all this yarn that I never use. But her heart is saying, no, I want to take up painting. But she ignores it.
Yes, exactly. And so, and then people wonder, what will I do with the knitting stuff? So I say, well, you're not going to ever knit again, correct? No, I'm never knitting again. I did it when my grandchildren were, coming in, and I had great joy in doing it. I was ecstatic about making little sweaters and booties, but I'm not going to ever do it again. So it's first becoming real with yourself, and then you can become real with your stuff. So then, where will the knitting go? Well, I spent a lot of money on the knitting and all the supplies. So, will you sell it online? There's all these great online ways to sell things now with local neighbors and people that are very close to you. So there's not a lot of danger in selling it.
Yeah, and you can donate.
You can donate it. All charities love your stuff. So that's the funny thing, sometimes I'll ask people, they'll be keeping things like their grandmother's china or, stuff that they don't love anymore. They're not using it. It's not serving a purpose. It's not sentimental. It may be sentimental, but they just really don't want it around. And they say, who could love this? It's such an ugly pattern. And I say the charity will love it. And somebody that will come along in that charity, there will be somebody that will love this particular style. And so they feel good about that. People feel good when somebody wants their stuff. It's really funny. As long as they know somebody is going to love their stuff, they can part with it.
Oh, yeah, and for me, because my whole house is feng shui, both my houses, for me it's an energy thing. Why do I want something that I don't enjoy in my home? It's an energy taking up space, and maybe something better and more joyful could take its place, but energetically there's no room. So the more junk stuff, clutter we have, this is my take, is also preventing the ideal stuff from coming to us, right? It's like I love the spaciousness, and I tie everything back to energy, which it sounds like you touched a little bit on in your work with feng shui being incorporated into your work. So for me, I'll share a story last week. My granddaughter's 8, and so she just outgrew her big, large car seat, and it was an expensive one. And I'm a grandparent. She didn't use it as much as if it was owned by her parents. And I kept saying, I don't want to just get rid of this, and I don't want to put it on the side of one of those bins. And you'll find this funny, but it happens to me all the time. In BJ's, a young couple walked by with 2 little children, and I heard her say, but it's $30 more than the one at Target, and we really can't do that. And I heard the word car seat, Marla.
Oh.
And I heard, I have conversations with my guides all the time. I heard, there's your opportunity to give it to someone in need. Exactly. And I'm like, I can't go up to a complete stranger and tell them I heard their conversation. Well, oh, yes, I could. So I turned around and I said, excuse me, I just heard you mention the word car seat, and I didn't want to mention the financial part. And I said, are you in need of a car seat? I said, I know this is going to sound like the strangest conversation. I said, but I have a $300 car seat, not a stain on it. It was my granddaughter's. It wasn't used often because we have 2 vehicles. And I said, and it was breaking my heart to leave it on the side outside the bin at the donation place. But if you could use it, it's in my truck right now. They bawled and walked out to the truck, and I gave it to them. The little girl is like 3.5 going, that's for me. Now, to me, that's what I'm talking about, energy. I wanted to release it to someone who not only needed it, but would find joy in it, just like that china set that you just talked about. There's things that will bring others so much joy. So my daughter says, I got home and I told her the story. She goes, it always happens to you. I'm like, I want to pass things on with love. And they were thrilled. So I share that story because of what you said about the china set. I want to tell our listeners in the last, we have about a minute, that when you release something, you're not only making energetic space in your own life, but you're giving someone else a chance to enjoy what you no longer find joy in. So pass it on, my friends. Exactly. So, Marla, I want to thank you for being here, sharing your strategies. I want to invite everyone to visit i-deallifestyle.com to learn more about Marla's work and to order her book, The Clutter Remedy, a guide to getting organized for those who love their stuff. So thank you so much for joining me today, Marla.
Oh, thank you very much. And I just want to say that it's actually, my website is actually deal-lifestyle.com.
Okay, thank you so much for clarifying that. And I want to invite everyone, join me every Tuesday on OMTimes Radio at 2 p.m. for inspiring conversations with women just like Marla, women who are changing the world with their brilliance and wisdom. Until next time, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness, my friends. Blessings.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.